Yo, welcome everybody to another episode of Muscle Talk. I'm your host, RTM, which stands for Russell the Muscle, of course. And I am back with another episode for you guys today. Today, we are going to be talking about Marvel versus DC a little bit. The shows from DC versus the shows from Marvel. The movies from DC versus the movies from Marvel. I'm going to give you my take on them. However, before we get into this video, let me just discuss what happened at WrestleMania. Phenomenal job, Triple H. Phenomenal job. WrestleMania was amazing. You know, Sami Zayn versus Gunther, amazing, and gave us that shock that we needed, because I like being surprised. I am surprised that Sami Zayn won. Congratulations, Sami Zayn, winning the Intercontinental Championship. Becky versus Rhea did not disappoint at all. Phenomenal match. AJ versus Knight, it was good. Disappointed it didn't last longer, but really good match. Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, really good. Because of Seth, Drew kind of just spammed Claymore kicks. Congratulations, by the way, Damian Priest cashing in, becoming new World Heavyweight Champion. Roman and The Rock versus Seth and Cody, phenomenal match. Of course, Cody versus Roman in the main event, night 2, excellent. Cody finally finishing his story. Undertaker and John Cena coming out to help Cody even the odds against the Bloodline that jumped Cody. Great storytelling, great match. You know, overall, Mania was amazing. Raw after Mania was mid, disappointingly, because typically the Raw after Mania is supposed to be like a banger of a show. The best thing we got was Cena's appearance, which was cool. But yeah, but let's move into the topic of the video, Marvel vs. DC. I'm gonna try not to be biased, because I am a big Marvel guy. You know, Iron Man, Spider-Man, the X-Men, I like them more than practically anyone in DC. The only person that competes is Batman, but in my opinion. But now for the DC shows, stomps the floor with Marvel. In my opinion, I think DC is way better when it comes to their shows, especially the animated content. All the original Batman animated series, amazing. Static Shock, you know, I grew up watching that. Justice League Unlimited, very good. You know, there was a lot of animated content that I grew up watching that I think was way better than the X-Men animated series and Spider-Man animated series and, you know, everything else. Now, live action shows, same thing applies. I think DC has better shows in general. Flash, Arrow from the Arrowverse, Smallville, phenomenal show. You know, they have a lot of really good shows. Titans, another really, really good one. Now, when it comes to the shows, the only shows that compete with the DC shows, in my opinion, is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's a phenomenal show, underrated. I think anyone who hasn't watched it should check it out. It really picks up, and those guys do everything in that fucking show, and it's really, really good and shocking throughout it. You know, you start falling in love with a character, and they either turn bad or they fucking die. Like, there's a lot of surprises that catch you off guard in that show. And Loki. WandaVision was okay. Moon Knight was okay. Hawkeye was okay. Falcon and Winter Soldier was just straight ass. Honestly, I think that show's overrated. But too dramatic for me. But overall, you know, their shows aren't bad. I don't know why we need Echo. She's like a side character. I don't know why we need Agatha Harkness. At this point, to me, I think they're focused on quantity over quality, which is not amazing. Because I've fucked with the MCU the first 4 phases. Phase 5 has been pretty good with some of their content, but disappointing with other. I mean, we didn't need Miss Marvel. And the worst part is you have to watch every single one of the shows to understand the movies at times, and that's annoying. But, yeah. Shows, DC, to me, stomps the ground with Marvel. Movies, however. Okay. Hear me out. The Dark Knight, phenomenal. I'm not stomping on that. Joker, phenomenal. They're not part of the DCEU, however. The Dark Knight is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Heath Ledger's Joker, the greatest villain in cinema history, okay? And that's my take on it. But the MCU, way better than the DCEU, okay? You know, Iron Man kicked things off, and you had Captain America and the Winter Soldier, phenomenal movie. Captain America Civil War, phenomenal movie. Thor Ragnarok, phenomenal movie. You know, all the Avengers movies, so good. The first Avengers movie stomps the ground with Justice League, in my opinion. All the MCU movies, well, I won't say all, but most of the MCU movies, way better than the DCEU movies, not including Blue Beetle yet. But, you know, there's a few of them that compete with some of the MCU movies, but for the most part, I think the first 4 phases of the MCU is way better than the DCEU. Phase 5, however, that's where some of the DCEU movies compete. You know, Wonder Woman, Shazam, well, now Blue Beetle, but like I said, I'm not counting that. I'll explain in a minute. But Wonder Woman and Shazam compete with Phase 5 of the MCU and, you know, Thor the Dark World, which we don't talk about. But Phase 5, you know, there was a lot of hits in Phase 5. I mean, Shang-Chi, amazing. No Way Home, amazing. But I will say some of the DCEU competes with some of the other Phase 5 movies. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think it's underrated. I think it's a decent movie. But it's not better than Wonder Woman or, you know, Shazam, to me at least. I think that Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, another underrated movie. Plus, you know, they were dealt a bad hand. I mean, Chadwick Boseman passing away is why that movie wasn't phenomenal. Chadwick Boseman is the Black Panther. It's like, I mean, they were dealt a very bad hand with his passing. But I do think that movie's underrated as well. And, you know, some of the DCEU movies compete with it. But for the most part, the MCU stomps the ground with the DCEU, to be honest with you. Now, like I said, we're going to talk about Blue Beetle. I know it's a part of the DCEU, but it's the DCEU reboot. And that I'm excited for. That might compete with the entire MCU. So, the original DCEU we all knew and loved, that's gone. Okay? They're completely rebooting it. And Blue Beetle was going to play that role Iron Man played. And kick off the new DCEU. That's insane. Because Blue Beetle, if you haven't seen it, amazing movie. I think, honestly, it's funny. I think it's the best movie of the whole DCEU so far. And it's in the DCEU reboot. And if that's how they're starting, bro, I'm for it. I'm all for it. I'm excited to see what they got. And who knows, that might compete with the MCU. Because to me, the first 4 phases of the MCU stomp the ground with all of DC's movies, even the ones that aren't, like, in the DCEU, besides The Dark Knight. Because, like I said, The Dark Knight's got to be in, like, my top 5 favorite superhero movies of all time. Phenomenal movie. But, I mean, think about it. The first 4 phases, we saw movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, caught me off guard, amazing movie. We saw movies like all the Spider-Mans. I think Tom Holland's underrated. Don't get me wrong, Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2 is still goated. But, I mean, Homecoming, amazing movie. Michael Keaton's Vulture did a great job. Spider-Man Far From Home, amazing movie. You know, Mysterio, phenomenal. No Way Home, I mean, that one they had to kind of do a lot of nostalgia. I mean, they brought Toby and Andrew back for that movie and all the villains, and that movie was goated as well. I mean, I don't think I've ever screamed louder in a movie theater, to be honest with you. I don't know, maybe Endgame, that portal scene, badass. But, I mean, then all the Avengers movies. The first Avengers movie, that broke down the doors for the Avengers films. Amazing, amazing job. I could probably quote most of the lines in that movie. Doth mother know you wear her drapes? I mean, even Iron Man's interaction with Loki, when Loki's like, I've got an army, and he's like, we've got a Hulk. I mean, there's like some fire lines in that are always going to be memorable. And everyone loved that movie and adored that movie. And then Avengers 2 came out. Now, in my opinion, I think Avengers Age of Ultron is the weaker of the 4 Avengers movies, but it's still a really good movie. Ultron, phenomenal job. Then we saw Infinity Wars. Thanos, bro. Josh Brolin, excellent Thanos. Heath Ledger, like I said before, is my favorite villain actor of all time. Josh Brolin's Thanos is number 2. That's like, he did a great job. His acting, unbelievably good. We saw Thanos make Hulk look like a bitch. I mean, overall, amazing, amazing movie, Infinity Wars. That's actually my number 1 favorite superhero movie of all time. I mean, they did a wonderful job in that movie. From beginning to end, it was like, holy shit. Endgame, phenomenal job as well. The first, like, half an hour was a little boring, but when it picks up and they go back in time and they get all the stones and you know, they see their past selves and fucking everything in that movie. You know, the portal scene at the end, Captain America lifting Mjolnir, you know, that end fight scene, Iron Man sacrificing himself, having the ultimate sacrifice to save the world, you know, snapping his fingers and saying, I am Iron Man. Everything about that movie gives me chills. I mean, I could rewatch it over and over and over again and never get tired of it. Infinity War and Endgame are the GOATs of the superhero movies, in my opinion. Dark Knight is probably number 3 after that. No Way Home is in my top 5 as well, but the issue with No Way Home is they did have to have a lot of cameos, give us a lot of nostalgia to make that movie goated. I mean, there was some fire scenes in that. I mean, when Tom Holland Spider-Man was punching Green Goblin and he's laughing, bro, he's such a good actor. I mean, I think William Dafoe would play an amazing Joker as well for the DCEU. For the DCEU reboot, that is. It'd be cool. But overall, movies, like I was saying, I think the MCU beats the DCEU. Shows, I think, so far, not including the DCEU reboot. Shows, I think DC stomps the floor with Marvel. So that's my opinion on MCU versus DCEU. Now, I will say this. In a fight, if every DC character and every Marvel character fought to the death, okay? Because this is a question that everyone seems to be asking themselves, and everyone has their own opinions on it. Who would win? Okay, that depends. In my opinion, the MCU will beat the DCEU, because the DCEU is just a bunch of bitches. But DC characters overall, they are more powerful. I think in a fight to the death, DC characters would win. I mean, you got Superman, you got Wonder Woman, you got Green Lantern, you got Aquaman, you got Cyborg. You got a lot of big, powerful names in the DC universe. And then Marvel has like the Hulk and the Thor and Iron Man and Captain America, and that's cool and all, Spider-Man. But, you know, who's stopping Superman? I mean, like, come on now. Batman literally designs ways in the comics to kill every member of the Justice League just in case of an emergency. Like, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, like, who's really stopping them? I got DC winning if there was a real battle between DC and Marvel. But yeah, I know this was a little bit of a random video, but I promised content and I wanted to upload today. And I figured I would give my opinion on DC versus Marvel because I'm a big superhero fan and stuff like that. Next week, I'm planning on having some kind of movie review for you guys and some more and stuff like that. But I do hope you enjoyed this short little video. And I will see you guys next week. Peace.